Howdy. Now let's talk about the 5 paragraph essay structure and strategy. Now, the reason why we tend to teach the 5 paragraph essay structure and strategy is just so that you can see the relationship between body paragraphs and an essay. And because having 3 points to help prove your point is a good idea, it's a best practice. One thing I want to say about the 5 paragraph essay structure and strategy is that it's used for essays between 3 paragraphs and however many paragraphs you need, 103. So you will never have a 1 or 2 paragraph essay. If you think you're going to have a 1 paragraph essay, then what you're going to do is you're going to add an introduction paragraph and add a conclusion paragraph, and it's going to make a 3 paragraph essay. So yeah, let's get to it. Have another Prezi presentation for you. I was all about Prezis when they first came out. So the 5 paragraph essay structure and strategy. I like things in 3 parts, so it has 3 basic parts. The introduction paragraph, the body, and the conclusion are the 3 basic parts to an essay. Now, no matter how many paragraphs you have. Let's start with the introduction paragraph. Introduction has 3 basic parts too. You have the attention grabber or the hook, your main points, and your thesis statement. The attention grabber is what it says it is. It grabs your reader's attention. Right from the jump, right from the beginning of your essay, your job is to grab your reader's attention. Make them interested in reading your paper. Make them mentally salivate to want to devour the rest of your paper. When you write a paper, even if it's about you, you have to make your reader feel invested in reading your paper. So you want to tug at their heartstrings right from the beginning, or tug at their mind strings right from the beginning. Give them something to latch onto so that they cannot put your paper down. If someone reads your attention grabber, they should not be able to put your paper down. They have to keep reading. After you do your attention grabber, you're going to make that, your attention grabber should be relatable with the rest of your paper though. Like, yeah, don't like start off with, you know, I got bit by a spider, a radioactive spider, but you're really talking about like quadratic equations. Like that, it doesn't really go unless you somehow make it connect. All right, after your attention grabber comes your main points. If it's a 5 paragraph essay, you're going to have 3 main points because there are 3 body paragraphs. These are the 3 things or the 3 ideas that are going to help you to prove your point, prove your thesis, or elaborate on your main point so that your main idea or your thesis so that your audience gets a better idea of what you're talking about so that they understand fully what you're talking about. Here, you're just going to mention them. My suggestion is that when you do your main points, if it's a 5 paragraph essay, you need 3 main points, give a complete sentence to each main point. This will make your introduction paragraph nice and full. But if your introduction paragraph is already nice and full because you had a long attention grabber, such as an anecdote or something like that, then you can put your main points into 1 sentence. Um, yeah, you can just make a list. After your main points, thesis statement, the most important sentence of any essay that you're ever going to write. Your thesis statement is one complete sentence that tells the main idea of your entire paper in a self-explanatory way. So it should be so complete that if you wrote that one sentence on a blank sheet of paper and gave it to someone to read, they should be able to read that one sentence on that blank sheet of paper and tell you what your whole paper is about. So you shouldn't have any undefined pronouns in there. So it shouldn't say she got it and after she threw it, she won. We need to know who she is. We need to know what it is that she threw and tell us what she won. It should be really complete. It should be a really complete sentence. If you have trouble making that complete sentence, fill in this blank. The main point of my paper is blah, 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 blah. Once you fill in that blank, get rid of that first part. The main point of my paper is, get rid of that part and just read what's after that. And that should create a good thesis statement. Dun, dun. After your introduction paragraph, you have the body. That includes your body paragraphs, of course. If it's a 5-paragraph essay, you have an introduction, conclusion, and 3 body paragraphs. The first body paragraph is going to be based on the first main point that you mentioned in your introduction paragraph. The second body paragraph is based on the second main point that you mentioned in your introduction paragraph. The third body paragraph is based on the third main point that you mentioned in your introduction paragraph. The reason why it's in that same order is because from your introduction, you prepared your audience's minds to get information in a certain way. So when you get to your body and you start to present that information in detail, because that's what the body paragraphs are, it's your main points in detail, you do what is known as like preaching to the choir. If the choir knows what the preacher is going to preach about, once the preacher starts getting there, then they can almost say what the preacher is saying as he's saying it or as she's saying it. And it's also like the salesman strategy. If you have ever heard of a good salesman, especially if you've been to one of those timeshare presentations, they are so good. They use a strategy, a long known strategy of getting you to say yes. And you can say yes to like simple things like, good weather we're having today, eh? So you're from Arkansas, right? And they'll get you to say yes like 10 or 20 times in a row, hoping that by the time they say the price, you'll just continue to say yes. So we're presenting information in the introduction, and in that same order. When we get to the body, we're presenting it in that same order so that we can keep our audience's mind agreeable with the same order that we're giving information. If you give it out of information, then you leave yourself open for that chance that your audience is like, but we're missing a point. You might get to that point later, but you don't want to give your audience any notion that you're out of your own order. See what I'm saying? All right, so each body paragraph has a structure to itself too. And we'll get into this, especially with the second paper. But you start off with a topic sentence. A topic sentence is like a thesis statement for that body paragraph. Follows the same rules as the thesis statement. A topic sentence should be one complete sentence that tells the main idea of that entire body paragraph. That's the first thing in a body paragraph, one sentence, that topic sentence. After that, you give support and details. Support, details, and examples. if you ever find that you are below the necessary word count for an essay, what you do is you go back into your body paragraphs and you give more examples of what you're talking about. Give examples, um, more details, but usually another one or two more examples tends to work. So do that if you ever find yourself below the word count. For our essays, the word count is 750 words. And so we have topic sentence, support details examples, and then you have a transition sentence. A transition sentence is a sentence that is at the bottom of one body paragraph that leads into the next body paragraph. So if you have, in your first body paragraph, we have 3 body paragraphs. The first body paragraph will end with the transition. The second body paragraph will end with the transition. And the third body paragraph won't need a transition sentence at the end because you don't have to transition into the conclusion. And I'll show you why later. So a transition sentence is a sentence that begins by talking about the current paragraph's topic and ends talking about the next paragraph's topic. It's a creative thing, but once we do the exercises for it, you'll be able to transition from anything to anything. For our first essay, the narrative, you won't need to have transitions. I'm not grading for that, but you can try it though. For the second and third essays, we will have transitions that are mandatory. So yeah, be prepared for that. All right, so for that last body paragraph, you don't need a transition because you don't have to transition into the conclusion paragraph, because the conclusion paragraph is the same as the introduction, just in reverse order. So for the conclusion, we're going to start with our thesis statement, reworded. It's the same thought, just in different words. And since our thesis statement is the main idea of the entire paper, you don't really need to transition into it. It should connect with everything. So reword your thesis to begin. After that, mention your main points again. You can do this by rewording your main points from your introduction paragraph. You can do this by rewording your topic sentences from your body paragraphs. Or you can do this in a way where, like, if you boiled your paper down to a conclusion that includes your main points, you can mention them in like a conclusive way here. And to end your paper, just like we start off with a attention grabber, we're going to end with a clincher or an ah statement. The ah statement, just like an introduction, just like a attention grabber, should tug at the heartstrings, should touch someone's mind, touch their spirit, so that when they put your paper down, they walk away from your paper and they still have to think or feel about your paper. Like, it doesn't end just because they read your last word. They walk away and they go about their day and they still have to think or feel something that you said right there at the end. Because that ending is what's going to make them remember your paper. Attention grabber gets them hooked. They have to keep reading it. The clincher or the ah statement makes your paper last within them. So that when they put your paper down, they're still feeling that thing. And as they're feeling that thing throughout the day, they think about the rest of the things that you said in your paper. And the reason this works, one of the reasons that the 5-paragraph essay structure works is because we're saying things 3 times. So we're telling them what we're going to say, introduction, saying it again, saying it with detail, the body, and we're telling them what we said. So telling them what we're going to say, saying it with detail, and then telling them what we said. And I had this theory that, because this is used in the Western part of the world. So I don't know. I think it works a lot because our attention spans are so low with all the distractions that you have to say things 3 times for people to get it. And that's what we're doing here. And it works. In the conclusion, when we start to repeat our introduction, our points from the introduction, there's this thing that happens in our minds that once a speaker begins to repeat themselves, you know that they're about to stop talking. Yeah, just about any presenter or speaker, once they start to repeat things that they've already said, they're about to stop talking. And it like triggers something in our minds. The only things that don't have that effect of letting us know that they're about to stop talking is like go-go music and like James Brown songs when he just says the same thing over and over again. Like that please song where he just says please like 57 times. I don't know, it just keeps going. And I don't mind it. Anyhow, that's the 5-paragraph essay structure and strategy. And that's what we'll be using for our papers. If you have any questions, send me a message, comes to office hours, and I'll be there to answer them for you. Later.